Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wingcat Sports. And we're going over the NFC North and whole for free agency. A lot of moves have happened inside the division. Obviously, we already got our Lions video out. So, for the Lions and whole, for our main opinions on it, I'll touch back on it at the end of the video. But for our main opinions, you can go to the other video. We're going to start in Chicago, though. Chicago did start making some moves early on in free agency. They agreed to a deal with safety Kevin Bayard. So they have some safety help. But the big one that caught most of our eyes here in Detroit was their very first move on the running back. Some thought they might get Saquon, but they chose DeAndre Swift. He will be there for the next 3 years in Chicago.
I'm not too worried. I think DeAndre Swift is a capable back, but injury prone. I don't think he's anything to write home about. I think both our backs are better than DeAndre Swift. So he doesn't scare me. I'm just curious what they're going to be doing at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's wondering about Chicago.
So the Bears are paying DeAndre Swift more than we are paying Montgomery and Gibbs combined.
Way to go, Bears.
So there you go.
Bears suck.
But they also did sign a tight end, Gerard Everett. They are also have visits with DJ Woonem, and they also signed another safety off the Packers, Jonathan Owens. But the big question for the Bears right now is still, where is Justin Fields going? The latest rumor for Justin Fields is the Raiders. The Steelers are now out because they signed Russell Wilson. There was rumors of Giants potentially. I don't think that's happening. Daniel Jones, plus they signed a couple backup QBs.
He would be perfect in Minnesota.
The funny thing would be Minnesota, but I don't think Minnesota will. Well, Chicago will trade to Minnesota. I think Seattle is still kind of on the board potentially for Justin Fields.
Needs the right kind of direction. You need the right kind of coach and system, and he's got to gain that confidence. He has all the tools. I mean,
the thing is,
he's a phenomenal athlete.
He's not going to go to Minnesota for one very big reason, and we'll get into that reason as I look through everything else. Like I said, we're going to go through it as the signings happen. But the Vikings' turn now. So the Vikings, they started yesterday with signing linebacker Jonathan Grenard. And then something bad happened to the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins decided to leave the Vikings and go to Atlanta.
Well, that was going to happen eventually anyways. It's just, Sam Darnold.
Yes.
Replacing, that's a big drop.
They would decide to go with Sam Darnold as their QB next year.
Certainly better than the guys we played against
at the moment,
but not by much.
At the moment, I see Minnesota finishing last.
Yes, I do too, if this is an indication. They've lost their best pass rusher. They've lost their quarterback.
Yep. Now they did bolster up on defense. They signed linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. They signed another linebacker, Blake Cashman. So they are trying to bolster up that defense. They added a lot of linebackers.
And they added Aaron Jones.
Which we didn't get to either because of the Packers. That was the next knife in the division. Aaron Jones got released by the Packers for reasons we'll get into. And he went over crosstown rival over to
the guy's hurt
the Vikings
all the time. I just don't. I mean, I like Aaron Jones. I think he's got number one running back talent when he's healthy. I just don't know how reliable he's going to be.
Yep.
Plus, he plays on a garbage team
for about.
He's a big drop in talent.
The Vikings also released defensive lineman Dean Lowry, and they signed kicker John Parker Romo. So that was also what was going on. But they did land on Sam Darnold as their future quarterback
for the next
year. That's what I was looking at. How long did they sign him for? But for the most part, he will be there for at least a year or two, maybe a little bit longer, depending on who they draft. Look at potentially J.J. McCarthy being
right.
a Minnesota Viking.
They have to draft somebody or go after Justin Fields or go after somebody.
They're going to be drafting a QB. They have to.
I would say, yeah. I'd say you're right. They're going to go. JJ McCarthy could be that guy. Yeah.
JJ will be a Minnesota Viking.
But he's not going to affect much right away.
No, not right away. I wouldn't expect him to start right away. But
So we don't have to worry much about the Vikings next year. I don't think.
So moving
Not
on
so far.
to our last team in the North that we haven't talked about at all. The Green Bay Packers. They started their day or their free agency by releasing linebacker Devontae Campbell, and also releasing left tackle David Bakhtiari. So a
Wow.
couple big guys. Well, one big guy I know for sure on their offensive line is no longer on the team. I wouldn't be surprised if he went over to the Jets to play with Aaron Rodgers, but we'll see what ends up happening. But the big splash that happened for the day that got Packers fans really, really excited for about an hour was Josh Jacobs going to the Packers.
Huge addition. Huge.
So for about a good hour before their heart was ripped out, they thought they potentially had the number one running back group in the division with Jones
Well,
and Jacobs.
they offered Jones a good contract, and he did not want to take a pay cut. He wanted to stay there. So they said, well, if you're not taking a pay cut, then they turn around and they sign Jacobs for like what, 12?
They signed Jacobs to a 4-year deal worth $48 million, so $12 million a year.
Wow.
So he'll
That's
be
a lot. And that's a huge for a running back.
And
now.
like I said, that would have been a very good running back duo of Jacobs and Jones, but
they weren't going to have both of them on the same team.
So, but yeah, he got released, went to Minnesota, and now that second running back spot is still up in the air because they're not going to re-sign Dillon. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Packers. Maybe they draft a running back this year,
right,
and get a nice young running back. I don't know what the running back market this year is for on the draft side, but maybe they end up drafting a running back. They also signed safety Xavier McKinney from the Giants. He's pretty good, so their secondary will get a little bit bolstered up.
Well, their defense was good to begin with. They're going to be really tough. I would not say. I can't say with confidence that we're favored in the division.
I think we are still favored.
I mean, according to other people, but in my opinion, I don't know. I think
it's good. It's going to be pretty close, I think, this year. And then just a quick touch up on the Lions stuff. Even though, like I said, we already did the video, so if you want our full opinion on everything, go over to that one. Graham Glasgow got re-signed. Marcus Davenport was added to the roster. Carlton Davis was traded to the Lions, and they signed a cornerback, Amik Robertson. But those were the main moves by the Lions overall. And then, since we got a little bit of time left, we'll touch up on some other surprising moves that have happened throughout the league. Daniel Hunter did leave the Vikings to go to the Texans, which we in the previous video he wasn't signed yet. Literally made that 10 minutes earlier. So there's one big piece of defensive tackles dropping. I think the other big surprises was Saquon going to the Eagles.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
That wasn't as expected to happen. There's a lot of running backs being moved around right now.
Right. And Daniel Hunter going to Houston is huge. That's just that Houston's going to be a really good team next year. Like I was telling you, I mean, maybe it's too early to really tell, but because you got the draft coming up and all that. But I would say we had a better chance last year to go to the Super Bowl than we did.
It's not if we can win. If we somehow win the division, I think it's gonna be technically easier. But I think winning the division this year will not be as easy.
Not gonna be easy, and it's. I'm just saying, it's tough. It's going to be a tough season for these guys. You're going to have a tougher schedule. We got to see what they can do to shore up that offensive line because that's how they win.
Yep, Jonah Jackson leaving is not going to be helpful.
Hurt us.
And then other moves around the whole league. Derrick Henry to the Ravens, which is also kind of surprising. But now the Ravens have a decent running back. Jameis Winston went to the Browns, which I found interesting. That's another one that kind of sat up there like, what are they doing?
Right. What are the offensive line free agents still available?
That's a whole other website I got to go to right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't prepare me for that one.
Well, I mean, I don't know how they're going to fill all the holes. They need a few people. I don't know how Corey Scarsdale's doing or whatever that guy's name was. If
Sorsdal.
he's Sorsdal, if he's going to be able to be
Well, yeah, and another
at
thing, you
least
got
a reliable backup.
Broderick Martin. How is he gonna play for the
Right,
Lions? We
Broderick
don't know.
Martin, I haven't heard nothing.
Uh,
Um,
Other things that have happened. Christian Wilkins went to the Raiders. He was a top defensive tackle, so that AFC West is not becoming as easy as it previously was. I know Eckler went to the Commanders.
Austin Eckler,
Yeah, he went to the Commanders, and so it is a lot of running backs moving around from team to team. So it is weird to see all this moving happening.
It's fun. I guess this is the new. This is how it's done. I mean,
I know.
like I said, it's hard to build anything, and what we got over everybody else is continuity in the coaching area. Our system is solid. We have the same coaches. Uh, that is that's a big help. We know what we're doing, and hopefully that'll put us in a position. I mean, it makes you so angry because we should have been in the Super Bowl this year. We should have been there, and it's hard to get back. It's hard to get in there, and I know a lot of Lions fans think, well, we're just going to make progress this year. The progress now is going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Anything less than that is not progress. So,
and the funny thing is, if we had to make a prediction on a lot of stuff, the one team that I think is going to fall off a lot this year just because they haven't done anything and they've lost players that really helped their team out is the Cowboys.
Right.
The Cowboys haven't made a single move this offseason besides signing a long snapper. They lost their running back.
Yeah.
So they have to figure out their run game.
I think them and Minnesota are, in a bad situation right now.
Minnesota is probably last place in the division. The Falcons are looking like they're going to be a good team. The Eagles lost some players to the retirement.
Right.
So the whole league is going to be interesting next year. I think the North might be the strongest division in the NFC.
Depends on about Chicago.
Depending on how, but I think Chicago, if somehow Justin Fields stays and they draft right.
They're talking about getting Cam Williams or whatever that guy is from USC.
Yes, but I think if
and he will start right away.
If Chicago doesn't trade Justin Fields and goes away from drafting a quarterback and does drafts right, they will be a good team.
Yeah, I agree.
And it will be a three-way race with Minnesota falling behind just because of how that team is. Now, I don't know. Sam Darnold ain't going to carry the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Jones ain't going to carry the Minnesota Vikings.
I think Minnesota certainly looks like they're going to be taking a few steps back. And, like I said, they're losing Kirk Cousins, which was inevitable probably.
And that's one thing you can't even blame the Vikings for, though, either, because you're not going to want to sign some 36-year-old to a 4-year contract after he has a Achilles tear.
Right. Exactly.
Like with the amount of money he's making after Achilles tear is surprising. I don't even know if he'll play the 4 years of the contract, if he'll be as good as he was, because we're still seeing with Aaron Rodgers if he's going to be as good as he is.
Right.
After his Achilles tear. But
that's right. He's coming back.
It's getting a little bit off topic, but that's an overall view of free agency, mostly focused on the North. But with all that being said, right, let me know what you think down in the comments. Until next time, hope to see everybody. See you.